to the June 17th, 2026 York School Committee meeting. It's 6:03, and we will call to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and I will read the land acknowledgement. York is located on the land of the Pennacook and Abenaki peoples of the Wabanaki Confederacy, who have ongoing cultural and spiritual connections to this land. We acknowledge and honor with gratitude the land and the people who have stewarded it through the generations, and we recognize York's responsibility to maintain and protect these homelands for future generations. Just for the audience and everyone to know, Marie Evans is attending remotely, so she's here on my screen and will be able to vote and participate. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
Yes, there are. We will have a presentation from the YMS grading system presentation. It will come underneath the Assistant Superintendent's report. There is some new business, 8.4 through 8.9. We'll have some nominations to make for next year. Consideration approval of 5 additional new hires, in addition of the superintendent's report, and we have an addition for the school committee summer retreat.
Thank you. All right, on to approval of the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I second.
Any discussion before we vote? All right, Rick,
Yes.
Meg,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Marie?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 5-0 to approve the consent agenda. Next up is communications, upcoming meetings and events. Last day of school is tomorrow, half day. Then it's summer. All right, on to correspondence, presentations, recognitions. We have the York High School boys track state champions here. Hi, Dr.
Good
Kenny.
evening. As principal of York High School, it is my honor to introduce our boys track and field coach, Matt Weber, who will present his state champions.
Thank you. Yes. You can come on up, absolutely. Yep, you guys can come on up.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Matt Weber, York High School track. Appreciate and thank you, the school board, for the invite to come over tonight. We had a excellent season. We had 84 athletes on the team this year, with over 50 of them going up to the state meet. We needed 2 buses to get there. Thank you for that. With tonight is senior captain Will Fagan, Asher Kuhn, Charlie Schmid, Quinn Dykstra, Wyatt Babiak, I can see in order, Nell McAllister and Noah Muir. All of them were participating at the state meet. We had probably our largest total ever. We had 31 athletes scoring and getting on the podium at the states, which I think is a record. 18 boys, 13 girls. The girls finished 4th, and the guys had an excellent, very strong win with some individual state champs for Will Fagan in the shot put, Jack Walker in the 110 hurdles, Zoe Carroll in the girls 1600. These guys are just a small representative of the great athletes, student athletes that we had that were working extremely hard every day, doing their best, and really showing it out on the track. Like to kind of issue a public apology for everybody for Saturday, June 6th, day of states. I heard we kind of wrecked traffic in town with the police and fire escort from the highway, but extra special thank you to the police department and fire department for escorting us in from the highway. That was, I've been fortunate to be part of a few of those over the years with the track and field and cross country teams, and that was by far the biggest and loudest and longest one that we've had. So that was excellent. Just a last special thank you to everybody here and residents for supporting the track construction project. We were thrilled to get to use that to its fullest this year. Put a lot of put a lot of miles and jumps into it, and I think these guys getting to use that every day certainly help contribute to everybody putting their best foot forward and doing the best that they could. So appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Matt.
If anyone else wants to say anything, you're welcome to. Captain. Yes, okay. Thank you. That's a very big trophy. All right, congratulations again. Next, we have 4.2, the 2026-2027 YEF grant recipients. Come on up. Thank you. Congratulations. Enjoy the summer. Thank you.
Nice job. Just a little handout here. You can follow along. I just want to start off by saying, on behalf of the board, that we really appreciate what you guys do. We know how hard it is. You have a lot of complex issues, and I'm sure there's not an insignificant amount of drama and stress involved with it, but you know, everybody's all worked up about national politics, but this is really where you make a difference, and you guys are making a difference for this community, and we appreciate it.
Thank you for saying that.
All right, so on to grants. This year, we didn't have a huge turnout. We usually get probably 16 to 18. We only had 8 applicants this year. But what we lacked in quantity, we made up for in quality. We're giving 6 of them away, totaling $35,000 this year. One is with VEST, one is with CREST, one's YMS. And then 3 are kind of, well, one's adult ed and the other 2 are kind of district-wide. The first one is for VEST, for Caitlin Bernard. Surprisingly, they don't have any sort of audio books at VEST. And to increase literacy, she's come up with a project to bring these Yodo audio books in, which have picked up a lot of pace in a lot of different communities, but are new to York. So it's 4 per classroom for all the VEST classrooms, where the child, it's no screen, no microphone. They're very durable, so they should last for years to come. You put little cards in them, so there's no screen time for kids. They're perfectly safe. They're really based on a lot of good research. So she's going to put 4 in each classroom. The teachers are going to pick the cards that they're going to use. They each have a fund set up in each of the classrooms to buy the cards that correspond with whatever they're teaching, whatever books are in the school. So that's the first one. The second one and the third one are pretty much the same, so I'll kind of bunch them together. We funded years ago, whiteboards were the big thing, and probably 10, 12, maybe even 15 years ago. Slowly, they kind of went out of style, and people went to use the TVs. Well, now they've been around for a little while, but there are these big interactive boards, 75-inch TVs, where you can, in the case of a 6th grade math dug-in, where you're teaching math and science, put things directly on the board. Kids can go up, move things around on the board. They're pretty state-of-the-art. They're pretty pricey, but 2 teachers independently asked for them, and we think it's a good pilot to see how they work in schools to improve engagement. One is at CREST with Melissa Jean for special ed, and the other, as I mentioned, is math and science with Matthew Duggan. They're pretty neat, very capable. Although they're different pieces of hardware, IT's been involved with the choice of picking these out, and they run the same Google Enterprise platform. So I think they'll be easy to maintain. Does take some knowledge to figure out how to get the most out of them, but I think that's why it's good to do it as rather than the school funding them for all the classrooms, starting a couple classrooms so that some teachers get some, knowledge base about what they're capable of and how to use them. The fourth one is really not, I think I called it I called it YCA. Surprisingly, they can't live stream events there. They don't have the right equipment. So even though it's not technically what we typically do for grants, we thought it was kind of a community service to allow them to stream starting at the beginning of the new year. It wasn't an expensive grant. They had most of the equipment that they needed, but we filled in some gaps, and hopefully they'll get that on order and starting in the new year, be able to start live streaming in stereo, or what they call it, hi-fi stereo. The next one, Lisa Robertson had a really good one last year, and she came back with another one this year. It's called Creating the Skill Gain Cafe. So the basic premise of it is that adults learn better in an environment that's more suitable for adults. And she's creating a space at the York Middle School that basically is I wouldn't even say simulated, but it's a cafe style setup where there'll be coffee makers, cabinets, chairs set out so that adult learners are more comfortable and more willing to collaborate in that kind of environment. It'll also be available for YMS students, teachers, and other people there. She already had a good chunk of the money from another grant, and I apologize, I don't know who granted that money, but we basically doubled it for her so that she can complete this over the summer. And the last one's actually I think the most exciting one as far as I understand it. It's called the Resilience Project by Michael Harris, the principal, and he's really enthusiastic and passionate about trying to get a pattern interrupt, as he calls it, to address some of the issues that have arisen in terms of absenteeism by children over anxiety. And he's going to do that by bringing in a nationally recognized lecturer and doctor named Lisa. What is her name? Lisa Lyons. She's from Concord, New Hampshire. She's going to come in early in the school year, depends on her availability and the availability of the school. But for a district-wide event, symposium, if you will, for all the staff members to go through methods, training methods of how to deal with these anxiety issues that are leading to absenteeism. There'll also be an adult session in the evening where parents can attend and understand what the strategy is going forward. And he really is trying to make this a cultural change for York schools. And the grant is, her time, her group to come train, periphery information, literature that will be available to parents and teachers alike. And there'll be follow-up with her available for specific issues and so forth. So we're hoping that makes a big impact to the schools. So those are the 6 for this year, and I thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you. This is really
Thank you.
exciting.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. On to approval of the financials.
So in the absence of our business manager, I'll do a report for tonight. So accounts payable on 6/11 in the amount of $607,484.17. We also have a payroll as of 6/4/26 in the amount of $1,473,051.21 for a total AP and payroll amount of $2,080,535.38.
I move to approve the total accounts payable and payroll in the amount of $2,080,535.38.
I second.
Okay, any discussion before we vote on approval of bills and payroll? All right, Rick,
Yes.
Meg,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Marie. Oh, sorry, I muted you. Marie said yes. Chair votes yes. 5-0 to approve total AP and payroll on the amount of $2,080,535.38. And I don't see any donations.
There are no donations at
All
this
right.
time.
That would conclude the financial report. All right, on to chair report. I don't really have a chair report. I just want to say thank you, Dr. Kashulik.
Thank you.
I'll miss you.
Thank you.
It's very exciting. I want personally thank you for all the time that you've spent walking me through all of your acronyms and your dedication to really shifting the literacy and math programs and helping lift our whole district up.
Thank you.
And I will miss you. And the best of luck. And welcome to being a York mom.
Thank you.
Yeah. We get to watch baseball together also.
We sure do.
Yeah, exactly. Now you know where you can direct all of the questions. Just send me an email. All right, on to the superintendent's report.
For the superintendent's report, we have no resignations. We have an additional retirement. Pamela Schneider, ed tech at York Middle School, retiring after 28 years of service to the York School Department. We'll take up a few, they're not transfers, but they're close to transfers, but we'll take them up later here in this report. New hires, Emma Reinhold, ed tech at Village, Cassidy Reyes, ed tech at Middle School, Deborah Levine, and she's an ed tech 3 at the middle school, and Henri Neo, technology technician at this district level. Those are new hires. 6.25 administrative openings at York High School. We did have a principal's opening and a athletic director opening. We did some interviews for the athletic director. In the same time, we advertised for a high school principal. We had 8 applicants. 2 of those applicants might have hit a threshold of requirement that was needed. So we decided to go with an interim principal for 1 year next year. And that interim principal will be Kyle Hodgson, who is our current assistant principal. He'll move into that 1-year role as a principal. The assistant principal's position will be filled by Corinne Monaco for 1 year. She'll be an interim. And we will be hiring a full-time AD, which comes up in the next section, which you'll vote on. So we'll run those. We did a lot of work with our staff. We did some surveys. This late in the year is probably not the best time to run an advertisement for a principal. If things work out, good. If they don't work out, we'll run an advertisement probably early February, late January for an opening at the high school. So that would get everything prepared and ready to go for the fall season and the new school year. I think the staff appreciated it. I know I appreciated the help that they provided. And I think going into the summer, we kind of have an idea where we're going to be in the fall, which is helpful. Now we'll make it official tonight, and we'll make sure parents know that information in the coming days. So that's the update on the admin openings that we currently have, and then you'll be building on those later in the meeting. DOE, the main DOE, our technology director, Eric Lawson, will be leaving the district for 2 years to go to the Maine Department of Education to work with the MLTI integration program. The Maine laptop program has been around for a number of years, and there are 8 people that will be hired in Eric's capacity. The Maine Department of Education will honor Eric's contract for 2 years. So the DOE will pay York for his contract. We will hopefully be able to cover that position for a year or 2. And if he decides to come back in 2 years, he gets his job back. If he doesn't, then he continues to work where he is, and we'll have a permanent opening. So I would say that's a pretty big loss in the tech world. Eric's known really well throughout the state of Maine, and also in the across the country, and with the work he does with Google. But I think for all of the Maine students, hopefully there will be a benefit. We will have access to Eric now and then through the year. We will be keeping Eric's email, and we're also making sure that we can call him when needed. So it's a transition right now for the York School Department. There's been a number of people that have decided to move on or move up, so it's made some openings that we have to deal with. And this is one of them. So hopefully we have run an advertisement for a tech director, so hopefully we'll have some luck with that. So, but good luck to Eric, and I think the Like I said, there's 8 of those positions. This is the first time that the Maine Department of Ed has opened these positions to administrators. It's always been to teachers, but never to school administrators. So it's groundbreaking for that piece, so. 6.27 is the school committee summer retreat. I'd like to host a retreat earlier than later, and hopefully in July. Normally we have something in September, but I think we do need to get our heads around school reorg if we're still be doing that, and where we're heading for all of the construction needs at the high school and the middle school. So I think earlier, we don't have to, we got this, I would like to have a date set, because we don't normally want to meet once in July. So
Yeah.
if we can get a date set for that retreat, then that will help all of us kind of plan ahead, so.
Do you want to look at that now?
I think so, if we
Okay.
could, yeah, we
Yeah.
could look at our calendars.
What day of the week do you want to do it? And do you want to do it like during, instead of our regular meeting in July, or do you want to do it during the day? So we have like speakers come, like what's the time? How much time are you thinking?
I was thinking during the day, if we could
Yeah.
take a half a day and, maybe meet in the office and, or wherever you like to meet, but as long as this is available. But anyway, to start looking at that. So our second meeting of the year is the 15th. It doesn't really need to be before that, or it could be after, of course.
So we're not going to meet the first, right?
We're not going to meet the first.
Right,
no.
we typically take that July 4th week off as
Right.
our vacation, okay.
Correct.
So do you want to meet
If,
after the 15th or before?
well, I was thinking we could have a regular board meeting on the 15th, but we could do the retreat in the afternoon of the 15th if people are
Oh.
available. So we could do it the same day, and you don't have to double yourself up in July, but
Okay,
we could do something maybe, say, from, I don't know, 2 to 5, and then at 6, have a break, and then 6, or we could go, 3 to 6, and then 6 is the board meeting, something like that.
Okay.
If you want to meet during the day.
I mean, that's fine with me.
Yeah, I can do
It
that.
kind of just gives you one day instead
Yeah,
of
it's
2.
easier than having stuff spread out.
Yeah.
and- Sure.
How's that?
I would prefer, we're getting a thumbs up from Marie. I would prefer to do like 2 to 5 and then a little break
Okay. Yeah,
for food.
that's fine, 2 to 5, and then,
And-
now I have a date, and we'll make sure we put some agenda together. And, I'll email them, what do you want to know? Is there any updating? Do you need to hear from Harriman? Do we want to, design our,
Is that going to work for you?
Are we talking about the 15th?
Of July?
Yeah, okay. I do have a potential conflict 4 to 5:30.
All right, so you can maybe come from 2 to 4.
I could come from 2 to 4. Yeah, let's see what's going on there. But
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
yeah,
you could
if
come
we
to the
started-
meeting.
If we start at 2, that's fine.
Okay. And then you could come to the board meeting at 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the other group knows I have to leave in time to get to the board meeting.
Okay. All right. And Marie, you're saying that works for you? Okay. Thank you.
okay, I'll get some information out on that.
Tim, will Amanda come to that too?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Works. She in the- Oh, she's still here. Just making sure. It works. Got you.
Okay, that concludes my report until we get to the new hires, but.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna take
All
a
right.
minute to plug in.
Assistant Superintendent's report, beginning with the end of year assessment data.
Yeah, so we're gonna go through a few different things. One of them is sort of what goals our individual buildings had this year, work that's been done at the building level to achieve those goals, and then go through some of our end-of-year data. So I will be supported by our principals who are gonna walk us through what their building goals were. And then we also have some members as well of our specialist intervention team if we have specific questions to go through that as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, so I just kind of reviewed this. School-wide improvement goals, snapshot of current performance data, the impact that our MTSS program has had, I don't want to say program, but the impact of our multi-tiered systems of support for students. Over the last few years, the committee has supported us in adding new positions into the budget each year or reallocating positions. So we'll be speaking to that as well. And then importantly, either based on data or where we stand with our goals for the year, what are some of our future initiatives and goals that we want to continue to build upon in the next year or two, and what might you see in upcoming budget cycles and things of that nature. So just some real quick goals to kind of give a good picture of where we wanted to go with the district level was by the end of this year for 75% of our students to be at or above proficiency in math, 85% at the elementary and middle school, and 80% of students in high school. And I think that should actually say literacy there. I apologize, I got a typo, I'll fix that. And then we also had a focus on chronic absenteeism, which we wanted to decrease by 3% across the board. 10% is sort of the threshold that we always want to be below, because that's what the state sets as where we're considered chronically absent, is if students are missing 10% of more of their possible enrolled days. Some data sources that we're going to look at. The main 3-year assessment, which is for students in grades 3 through 8 and 10. That was a change. It used to be in grade 11, but for the last couple of years, it's been in grade 10 as we've moved to the main 3-year assessment. iReady is K through 12 in math. And then we also have some literacy assessments that we're going to look at. Again, the main 3-year assessment, Acadians, which is foundational skills in literacy, and then iReady 2 to 12. And then we're also going to take a quick look at our pre-K and K screening, which is the Dial 4, which looks at motor concepts and language skills for students entering pre-K or kindergarten, and chronic absenteeism as well, even though I think that we might have left that off a couple of slides, but we'll make an adjustment to that. So first I'll invite Jay up, and he will walk us through his goals and data from Village Elementary. And if you need support in any way, let me know. I guess we're all coming up. Great. Perfect. And then, do you want me to drive and you guys talk? Fantastic. And then Tim is also going to be presenting on, as part of some of the goals this year, that Principal Hislop was introduced to as a new principal for the middle school. Some of the work, large changes that they've made at the middle school going into next year. So we'll have an opportunity to ask questions and present on that as well.
I'm Jay Delahanty, the principal at Village Elementary. So we have pre-K, K, and 1. A lot of the work I did this year being new was finding data. That was a learning curve for me because it's new platforms I was getting into. So if you had asked me to do this at the start of the year, I would have had my MTSS team here speaking for me, which they've done a lot. I've said, hey, can you help me find that ALO data? Hey, can you help me find that iReady data? They have not been unkind to me by repeating myself so often. And it's been pretty amazing to see the broad scope of numbers that we can attach to these students, they build their skills. So at the classroom level, we did have the opportunity to have an amazing iReady trainer come in who did some cross-grade level in-classroom trainings. He actually took over some classes and also demonstrated some of the skills, which you don't always get in that scenario. It was really fun for our K and 1 teachers to get an opportunity to sit and pick his brain about what's the most important parts of all these lessons. We piloted Bridges Math in pre-K. They didn't have a specific program. They had some resources provided by the state, but this is aligned with the iReady. So then you're going to have more of a consistent experience for the students to have exposure through Bridges Math and then iReady. Piloted Bridge to Writing in a 2K and 2 first grade classrooms. I've learned, and I'm very proud of my staff for being extremely competitive. They all want to pilot everything all the time. So the moment we had a couple of pilots out there, I was like, well, can I? I was like, I guess you guys want this. So we're going to go all in on that next year. And it was fun to get recently. I was in a first grade team meeting, watching them collaboratively grade some writing assessments and seeing how the broad scope of skills, which getting more later from pre-K to first, and the amount like paragraph writing that's legitimately happening in these first grade rooms is amazing. Also, over the past 3 years, we've adopted the Hegarty Phonemic Awareness Instruction Program. On the general education intervention, we're looking to establish intervention time outside of the classroom literacy and math instruction. I noticed this year because of scheduling constraints that like a kid literally was getting pulled from a math instruction time to get literacy support and vice versa. And that just saying that doesn't sound right. Notice the problem. I found a solution for it. We'll put in for next year, which will be a lot better. Also going to work to refine and review our MTSS referral process so people understand when a student might get more of that general ed intervention support. That way it's more clear if a kid continues to struggle, when do we have a special education referral? We're going to do that in conjunction with our special ed team. So the data we're collecting on the general ed side can be applicable on the special ed side. You're not just trying to reinvent things and saying if it doesn't match. We have a behavior interventionist coming in. Very excited. I know that she did a lot of work at her previous school to build an MTSS program. Going to pick her brain and see how we have that dovetailed, along with the person over at Coastal Ridge to make sure it's consistent. Last but not least, I want to make sure we're reviewing student data to define the criteria that get the intervention services. If we know kind of the thresholds, the bars at which, okay, this flag is raised based on that standardized assessment, that's when like this kid might need some more services. Along with, we'll have grade level data, and we're also going to have teacher observations. So that's the work we've done this year. Here come the numbers. The Dial 4 screener. So we have all of our students who are new to our school do the Dial 4 screener. It was fun to see that all the dark blue is the entirety, our York pre-K students, sorry, the ones that were there in kindergarten and pre-K and then came to kindergarten with us. And the light blue is the entire average of all students in kindergarten. And across the board, you can see that the students who were in our school for pre-K did better in their motor, concepts, language, and the total was about 13% higher, I think 14% higher almost. I want to highlight, again, I said last time I was here, I know the community-based programs provide a different opportunity, and I fully support that. Some kids need that outdoor experience. Some kids need to not be here 5 days a week in pre-K. So I'm not saying this in a way to say that we need to take over the community programs. I've seen them, and I really appreciate what those educators are doing. I think we're good where we are at this point. I was really proud of the fact that my teachers are preparing the kids to be really successful in kindergarten. Any questions about the Dial 4? All right, thank you, pre-K.
Thank you.
This color coding speaks for itself, I think. You can look in the fall for our whole school on the iReady to the spring. We go from 14% of students in that top tier doing very well to up to 76%. Went from 23% to 80% and 2% to 6% in tier 3. I think that just is a testament again to our strong instruction. There's a lot of social conversations going on in this math program. The students can build skills off of each other. I'm just glad to see that pyramid looks really nice. Our next one talks about our interventionists. So within that higher level, the red area, we have our students who are either approaching or above in some of these foundational skills you see down there at the bottom. Again, the students who received intervention services, you saw exponential growth, which is exactly what you want to see. That from 37.5% all the way to 88.2%, 40 to 90. Again, I have one of my interventionists here in the room. I've gotten to pick her brain quite a bit about the structure of how she approaches students. And it just really is a great chance to give that extra nudge for the kids to improve. Yeah, very, very proud of the interventionists and what they did there. Any other questions on that?
Is that a typo? Should it say 4th grade on the bottom right? Should it say 1st grade, bottom right?
It should say first grade on the
First
bottom
grade. I was
right.
wondering that. Okay, so first grade.
okay.
Copy and
Fix it.
paste.
From fall to
I'm
spring.
new here. I'll do better
You're
next
doing
time.
great.
It's all good. I just want to make sure there wasn't like questions.
No, that's on me.
Oh, good.
On the next one, here we have our ALO, and I know that I want to clarify a couple things, which is why I put the asterisk at the bottom. In kindergarten, went from 66% at or above to 82%. And then in first grade, 57% at or above to 59%. I saw that and went, huh. I dug in and I saw 25th percentile, average range. So how are we doing? I saw that 76.6% of students in first grade in the winter, were above the 25th percentile. The reason we went winter to spring for first grade and fall to spring in kindergarten is that in the winters when we start getting into their fluency. So that's the rate at which they're reading. When we look at our fall score, that isn't in there yet, so you kind of have a false inflation because we're just doing whole word and we're not doing fluency. When I saw that 86.6% of our students are above the 25th percentile, I felt more comfortable. I think that the benchmark that's set is probably fairly high because if 59% of our students are at or above benchmark, but that's 86.6% of them are within the average range, those numbers didn't match up quite as well to me. So on the next slides, when I get into the idea around what our interventionist work we're doing there as well. So we have for the whole grade in the fall, on the left for first grade for the whole words, and then the interventionist down there from fall to spring. So that's that, if you can't read whole words, you're not gonna be fluent. So that's that baseline work they need to do. And when you saw that they had that improvement from 32% up to 74% of their whole word reading, I think that's really impressive work, showing that we need to get them foundational there. I like talking more about growth than about benchmark. And I'm going to dig in more with whatever resource we're using because I do see a lot of growth here. And I'm a little concerned about the benchmarks being set in a way where it doesn't show that our students are within that average range. If you want me to stop saying benchmark and average range, I can. I'm also happy to explain it in more detail because I get excited about numbers.
Yeah, can you go over that one more time?
Yeah,
So
go
you're
back to
saying,
this.
yeah, do you want to go back?
Yep.
So if I'm following,
Do you want me to go back?
yeah.
If you want, someone else take a stab, if you understand.
Yeah, I mean, I
The way
think,
I
I
explain it
do
might
want to
be-
say, Jay, like, hearing your vocabulary on this stuff is impressive, given this is your first year going from the middle school to the elementary level. And you made a good point about the first grade Acadience assessment. In the winter, new skills are introduced that weren't introduced in the fall. And so therefore, the goalpost changes. And I think that's a really important data point I'm glad that you discussed.
It's exponentially harder.
Significantly, yep.
It's still a minute.
Reading a word to reading a timed amount of sentences, that's a big shift
So
from
that's what
A
you're
to B.
saying, that's what was assessed in winter and
Yes.
first
So
grade?
winter to spring is more of an apples to apples comparison. But I still seen that they had the benchmark set where 57% of our students were at or above benchmark, and then 59%. I still looked and was, wondering what was going on, which is why I did the percentile. So if we have everybody lined up nationally, we will have 76.6% of our kids doing in that average range. And by the end of the year, we have 86% of our kids within that average range. So although the benchmark shows that they are at the 59th percentile, I do think that shows that our kids are doing very well compared to students across the country.
Yeah, and I think that we've talked about this before, which is a difference essentially between a norm referenced assessment, a percentile nationally compared to your peers, and a criterion referenced assessment where there is a bar and a benchmark, whether it be grade level or where we believe students should be in terms of their foundational skills. They are different markers that we utilize.
I can remember a few years ago, the Maine state assessment, there was, on the math side, they set the benchmark so high that 66% of kids were below average, which doesn't make sense to me. So I spent a whole year explaining in different meetings about that assessment. Wait a minute, your kid is in the 65th percentile, but they didn't meet what the state expectation was. So depending on the program, you can set the bar wherever you want. So that's what I think I see here, is that they set a bar in a way where most students, well, not most, many students will not meet that benchmark. But compared nationally, the majority of our students are doing well compared to kids in California, Washington, anyone else taking the assessment.
This is Maine,
This is national.
so nationally, you're saying 76.6% of our students are above the 25th percentile
Yeah,
nationally.
exactly. And then
57% are at or above the mean.
The criterion reference
Yeah.
benchmark for this specific assessment.
That's confusing.
I know.
It is,
That's why I dug in. I was like, wait a minute. I don't feel like our students are struggling in that degree on the literacy side. And so when I dug in, it shows that they aren't struggling. They're doing well compared to national peers. And I'm curious, maybe in future years, we can look at what fluency it looks like in the upper grade levels too. But that confused me, which is why I put the asterisk. I just don't want you to look at numbers and think I'm trying to sell you a bill of goods here. I just wanted to make sure that it was clear that our students are doing well compared to other students across the country.
Okay, got it. Thank you both for explaining that.
Okay, I'm on. So I'm Michael Harris. I'm the principal at Coastal Ridge.
And I just want to move that closer to you.
I am not.
No, not that one.
The
The
microphone,
I
I
know
think.
you're not Robert, but the microphone.
There we go.
No, just bring it closer to your body.
All
Yeah.
right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's me. There
Yeah,
was
no,
there was
I got
motion
it.
at me that I'm not doing it right.
No, thank you very much. Before I wanted to start, I just wanted to take a moment to say how incredibly proud I am of my students and staff at Coastal Ridge. The progress they've made over the past 3 years that I've been with them has been downright amazing for the work that they've been doing. I also want to give a sincere thank you to Dr. Kostulek for her guidance, training, expertise. She's been kind of like the backbone of helping us get to where we need to be, really a true partner in success. And I am honestly going to miss you thoroughly, and so is my staff. So thank you very much. Yeah. So we've been quite busy at Coastal Ridge, kind of developing our MTSS system. So if you look up here, we had some intentional developments over the past 4 years by hiring 4 staffing for MTSS literacy and math. And last year, we hired a full-time behavior support specialist that has helped us achieve many of our goals, which we'll be talking about. We did also make sure that we had plenty of professional development. In literacy, we started right off the bat with, what was her name, Jen?
Jen Hogan.
Jen Hogan, yep. And then also math coaching cycles. We started out with, similar to Jay, our first year, we had the iReady coach come in and do some training with the staff, did some teaching in front of the class. Last year, we had really in-depth training with 9 of our teachers that started in the spring and ended in the, started in the fall and ended in the spring, which was very successful for helping us understand the program and how to teach it in a really succinct manner. Data literacy, early on when I first started here, I worked with the DOE. With my MTSS team, we were labeled a Tier 1 school back in 2023, which I think if you guys remember, that's because we had high chronic absenteeism and we were scoring low in one of our subgroups for literacy and math. With that team, though, and along with our MTSS, we created ways of looking at the data, finding ways to create and teach our teachers how to look at that data. And then we created opportunities for us to work with those students in small groups, teach teachers how to do the small groups, created PLC groups that we worked on Wednesday afternoons, and it really was very beneficial, which we'll see once we see the data. And then the MTSSB position that we brought in last year has helped us address a lot of student needs. They talked about the grant for the YEF that I asked for, and I want to clarify, that is not my grant. That is also a Village, and there was a few people that asked about doing that grant that were not at Coastal Ridge. So Jay, thank you.
At the middle school last year, I know we had Holly Robinson brought a lot of that in and was doing some talk about. So this is not a new topic for the district. I'm just really glad that Michael did do a lot of the lion's share of the work to get the grant actually written down. So it's exciting.
Yeah, really exciting. But that MTSSB position has really been beneficial for our school. And when we look at the data, you're going to see it. So.
And I do want to, again, thank the board for supporting us to add an MTSS position, especially after the success that Michael has seen at Coastal Ridge after reallocating a classroom teacher position for Village Elementary School next year, as well as the middle school.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so this is our mean through-year assessment from spring grade 3 to spring grade 3 math. And you'll see we are, for grade 3, we scored at 90% or above, which is hands down truly amazing. At the math level, we scored 89%. And then reading, we were at 87% for 4th grade and 85% for 4th grade math. This is part of our program changes that we made in the last 3 years. This is in no small feat for all the work that we did with MTSS, for creating and really looking at the data, teaching teachers how to look at that data, creating those professional learning groups. This is what made this score, the children's scores look so high or do so well. Really focused, and your support for those positions, so we keep saying it, made this happen. It did not just happen. It was hard work, and it was a lot of support that you guys gave us in those positions.
Absolutely.
So here's our iReady data, and as you can see, similar to Jay's data that they had, this is for our reading data. We have it for reading, went from 46% to 83%. The green is at or above. The yellow is 1 grade level below, and then the red is our, 2 grade levels or more. 4%, I mean, that is only a few children out of our 300 kids that were left that still needs some extra help, but that is an amazing growth for our students in literacy. And then this is the ALO. Once again, so it's the reading composite score, takes everything into account. 74% at or above for our fall, 79% at or above for our spring. Once again, this is criterion-based, and it's a 1-minute test. So it is a 1-minute test, and the level of complexity does increase from the fall to spring. So there's a lot to get in 1 minute from these kids. So
Well, there's different components of it that are,
what's that?
like, there's different sections of it that are
Yeah.
more, it's more than one.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, that's quick.
The reading
But I think it's
fluency
good that
part.
that we're showing this at Coastal Ridge as well as Village, because it is, while the skills are different, that they're assessing at different grade levels, and appropriately so, this is the assessment that we're using to measure foundational skill development K to 4.
And then here's our iRady data for fall to spring, as you can see. And once again, really strong growth right there, and that is growth. That speaks for itself.
Any questions on programming, assessment, next steps for next year that you're looking forward to, Michael?
I'm really looking, well.
Under
just so
attendance?
You're going right to, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I skipped, sorry. So again, this isn't something that you'll see in the other buildings because we don't yet have an MTSSB person supporting the other 3 schools. But hopefully this will be part of the presentation next year for everybody.
Yeah, if we speak about attendance at Coastal Ridge, when I got there, that was one of the pieces that put us on a tier 1. First year that I saw it, we were close to 13%, and then we were down to 10%. That first year I was here, I was handling all the attendance calls and trying to manage it. The second year with my MTSSB person, we created a team, and that team really, we met every other week. And then with that, we just created certain procedures that really helped. So quarterly attendance nudges, which some parents might have gotten, for everybody, for kids who are doing well, but also just reminders that sometimes you have to take a look at that attendance and also get the help if you need it. We also looked at our tier interventions for the support for the SLO. If kids were struggling, what are we going to do? What's happening with that child? How can we support that child and family? So we developed a system to really look at that. That was created by using that MTSSB person, and then also creating a team that worked with her and me to make sure that these pieces were taken into account. And then they put in just the approval for extended vacations. Once again, that's just awareness. So we're trying to bring awareness of the importance of coming to school. They gave us some data there. So you could see the blue is when we first started this back in 2024, 25. We had a big jump. We were like at almost 11%. But once we started kind of really focusing it, we were able to bring that number down. I think we ended last year at 7%, or actually under 7, 6 point something. And then this year, we are looking to end our attendance at 8%, which is, didn't make our 3% goal, but it's still under 10.
District-wide, we might have, I'll have to look that up.
Okay.
Yours is pretty low to
Yeah.
start with. Yeah.
But that was a lot of work, and that was, we had school nurse, counselors, myself, behavior specialists, working to make sure that we were addressing and trying to make sure the kids are coming to school, having fun, learning, and wanting to be there. So another thing that we instituted with our MTSSB is the SRSS, and I always get that acronym wrong, so I definitely wrote it down for us so I don't mess it up. It is called Student Risk Screening Scale. And kind of a complicated chart that she gave me here, but it's just some longitude data from 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade classes. We did this at Coastal Ridge, so we didn't have the data from Village at the moment. But if you look like at the 3rd grade class, you'll see there's a winter of 25 and spring of this year. That's data from when they were in 2nd grade. Now they're in 3rd. And we're looking at the green is Students are fine. The teachers feel that external behaviors are fine for 8 to 75% of the students at that time. 19 to 20% of those students for those winter and spring might have been struggling a bit, and 3 to 5% were really having a hard time. That's our external behaviors. Now, if you look at those same students going into fall and winter, you'll notice that we've seen a huge increase in the green, kids doing much better, and that really, I believe, and we look at that as the work that we were doing the year prior is flowing over to the work that we're seeing in the kids in the following year. You'll also see that with fourth grade as well. And this chart's showing us external behavior, things that could be, blurting, yelling out, that type of behavior. And then we're going to see the next one is an internal behavior. And once again, if I'm going to look at the third grade, this is the harder one, because we'll see that the yellow is there, and some places the red gets a little bit bigger as we go along. What we've noticed, and we see with the fourth grade, is when we have students that were telling us that they might be having some difficulty internally within the yellow, we're seeing this early. We can now then help those teachers and address how can we help those students understand what's happening with those students so that they don't go into the red. And so this has been a huge, huge change in our way we look at behavior, but also how we help support those kids. And this is a MTSSB position that has been helping us look at this data, but then also going to teachers and saying, I see Johnny is really struggling a little bit here. Do you need help now? What can I do to help you? Before, we would not know this, and then that student would get into the red, and you'd be dealing with much more difficult ways to help support that child. Any questions?
No, I think this is fantastic. I really appreciate the longitudinal conversation around it, and I always am grateful to see I say this a lot, but we're very removed from the classroom space. We do a lot of, dealing with numbers and making decisions based on budgetary recommendations, and it's been really rewarding for me to see over the last 4 years of my time on the board, the work, the piloted programs and the recommendations turn into improved student outcomes. And I feel like we talked a lot about adding an MTSSB. It was a big discussion in adding a position, which is always a challenging conversation to have when you're looking at declining enrollment. Do we really need to add a position? And it was a hard conversation and it was a big decision. But I can't help but look at this data and note that these do not seem like isolated improvements. I would have to assume that better control of externalized behaviors in the classroom, less classroom interruptions, less classroom evacuations would also lead to improvement, more time spent learning. And so I'm grateful, and I assume that connection is correct, but I'm guessing it's hard to
There's a huge connection between,
Julie, that is a direct connection. I mean, when we can help those students manage themselves in class and feel comfortable being there, they'll learn more. When we can't, then we have the disruption, which disrupts the whole class and disrupts all the students.
Right.
And then it costs the districts more, because now we are dealing with more issues that students might have with learning. And then you're going to have to bring in more people to help with the learning part. So if we really help address that internal and external behaviors, help kids learn how to learn.
And then just also letting their peers around them learn in a less interrupted environment, and then just getting kids into school so that they can learn. So I appreciate how it appears to be three separate interventions or three separate metrics, but I understand it to be interconnected, and I think that it's important. And I'm just really I'm glad that we decided to go forward with this position. It was a big conversation, and it was something that we put off for a number of years, but I feel like it's been helping us help kids get to at and above their goals. And so I appreciate the, you know, the
thank you.
presentation and also the work that's being done.
Great.
Thank you.
Is this okay?
Perfect. Thank you.
Well, I'm Tim Hislop. I'm the principal at York Middle School. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight and share some of the celebrations and accomplishments of this school year. I also want to thank the school committee for your support of our new administrative team this year, Mrs. Kupta, our assistant principal, and myself. We were tasked with a lot this year, and we asked a lot of our staff this year. And I feel very confident that the changes that we're beginning to put in place are really laying the foundation for the future of the school. So tonight, in addition to the targets that we had for math and reading, we're going to highlight some of the school improvement goals that we identified in the fall based on feedback from the staff, from district administration, in 3 major areas. And those are the master schedule redesign, the strengthening of the MTSS model, and the revised assessment practices. Each one of these is a huge undertaking, and we tackled all 3 in 1 year. And in order to do that, the process that we followed involved 3 strategic teams. And each one of them, we're going to talk about the process that we followed, the goals, the outcomes of each. So again, we took a collaborative approach. The Time and Learning Committee was formed to address the schedule. That was co-facilitated by myself and Carrie Sayward, our Horizons Gifted and Talented teacher. Our MTSS team was co-facilitated by Rose Dyer, our IEP coordinator, and Dr. Deb Neri, who is here, and she's going to speak to that work in a little bit. And then our assessment team was co-facilitated by our assistant principal, Tisha Kupta, and our 8th grade math teacher, Kevin Etter. So to start, I'm going to go through and highlight the work of the Time and Learning Committee. So our goal was to implement a new master schedule by the beginning of the 2026-27 school year. And we wanted that schedule to maximize instructional time for students, meet the diverse needs of all of our learners at YMS, and foster high-impact teacher collaboration, so built-in structures to support that collaboration among staff. So in order to do this, we put a call out for volunteers in the fall. We let staff indicate their interest in any of these 3 teams that we were forming. We asked them to rank their interests, and then we put together 3 separate teams and looked at where we needed representation from each grade level, each department, 5 through 8, world languages, allied arts, special ed, and every core subject area was represented on all 3 teams. We had great response, great interest in being a part of this. So over the course of the year, we held a combination of full-day and half-day meetings, and collaboratively, we started by gathering some feedback on the current schedule and sort of a wish list from the staff at the middle school. We conducted a time and learning needs assessment on team at our first meeting to identify the strengths and challenges of the current schedule at the middle school. And then we began to outreach to 15 comparable middle schools that we identified with similar demographics. And we reviewed their schedules. In many cases, we provided further outreach, and we connected with counselors, teachers, had follow-up conversations so that we could learn more about what was really working in those models that we reviewed. And then we held follow-up meetings with small teacher groups or departments to get to drill down and get more specific feedback, more clarification, and to give them more opportunities to provide input. So it was a very collaborative process from beginning to end. By spring, we came up with 4 drafts at the Time and Learning Committee, and we presented them to the greater staff, and with some tweaking, narrowed it down to 1. And I'm very excited to say that it's in its final stages right now, building and placing students for next year. So we're really excited about that. During the process, we developed a shared vision as a time and learning team and a set of shared priorities that we kept coming back to that really anchored our work and guided those difficult decisions that we had to make throughout the process. No schedule is perfect. I've been through several schedule redesigns in my career, but this is the one that I'm most proud of and the most confident in. I think it is truly like a model middle school schedule that we really should be proud of. These priorities that we identified, and I do believe that our new schedule checks all of these boxes, were a commitment to middle school philosophy through a strong team-based model. We were able to restore the team model. Social studies previously was moved off team due to budgetary reasons, but we came up with a model that brought social studies back to the team. We wanted to First and foremost, increase instructional time. That was like the biggest ask, I think the biggest priority overall, to really balance that out a little bit more and provide more instructional time in English language arts, social studies, math, and science. We wanted to reduce unstructured portions of the day for students in 5 through 8 to create more purposeful learning environments for students, consistency and continuity in all courses beyond the core courses, including allied arts and world languages. We wanted to provide flexible structures for intervention, social emotional learning, and student voice and choice. We wanted to reduce conflicts that had been identified between students who were in need of intervention, participation in music ensembles, Horizons Gifted and Talented Services, and other student supports. We wanted to expand opportunities for our MTSS model, special education, and again, Horizon to be integrated more into core classes, so students would be receiving more of those services in class versus pullout. And we wanted to provide regular, meaningful teacher collaboration time, so teachers would be spending their time without students more purposefully, working together, less time on duties, and more time on conversations that really impact learning. Greater alignment and cohesion across all of the grade levels in the building, and we wanted to use our time and resources more efficiently than they've been used in the past. One exciting feature that I wanted to highlight is the integration of a CAT block. We learned this year visiting Crest that there's a WIN block over there, and this model is very similar to the What I Need block at Crest, where students will be able to identify, start to self-advocate with the support of their teachers as needed, to identify their needs each day, whether it's to use that block that will occur every morning at the beginning of the day. It will be consistent, routine. They'll be able to connect with adults throughout the building, either on team, their math, science, social studies teachers, or their world language teachers, their allied arts teachers. They can access their counselor or their school social worker. They can visit the library, the IT department, the school resource officer. They can attend small group remedial instruction from their classroom teacher or from one of the MTSS interventionists. They can participate in community building activities, some advisory SEL activities, or whole school assemblies. So this time is now built into our schedule and prioritized. We're also able to expand our allied arts offerings with the new schedule to address some areas of need. New courses that we're offering include a digital civics course for grade 5 students that will be taught by our school librarian, Carrie Leteri, that will address digital citizenship, research skills. We're creating a new course called Foundations, which will be co-taught by a school social worker and a school counselor, and we're introducing that in grades 5 and 6 this year. And that will be a social emotional learning course. And then a study skills course to address study skills, executive functioning for students in grades 5 and 6. In grades 7 and 8, they're getting a lot of really cool new additions, and based on the response that we got, we're really pleased, and I think we're heading in the right direction by offering more of these choices. Some of these new classes that we're offering include strength and conditioning, theater, art and design, AI, digital literacy, lifetime games, and beginner piano, multimedia storytelling. Unlike the previous schedule, which included an enrichment block, these will be graded courses selected by students, taught and developed by teachers in each of the disciplines. Like I said, this response has been very positive, and we're really excited that we're able to offer this opportunity for students to pursue their interests and engage more meaningfully in these arts experiences. So next year, we're going to implement these changes, take a breath, get ongoing reflection, feedback, make adjustments, and actually experience this new schedule and hopefully get good results. And then come back to it throughout the year. We'll reconvene the Time and Learning Committee. We'll involve the entire school community in getting that feedback and determining what steps we need to make for the following year, which adjustments are needed. Again, I'm really proud of the progress that we've made. The committee worked really hard. The staff has been really open to the changes, ready for changes, and I'm really excited about where we're going. The other two areas of focus that I mentioned, the MTSS model and the assessment practices, I have one of the co-chairs for each of those committees here, so I'm going to swap out with Dr. Deb Neri, and she's going to give you a similar overview for the MTSS strategic team's work.
Hi, Deb Neri. Nice to see you all. Yes, the MTSS committee, people were passionate to sign up. We had about 11 or 12 people on the committee. We met monthly, and we had a 90% a rate of the committee members showing up for the committee. So that's really important, that you can't make decisions or come to collaborative agreements if you're not there. So we were really happy about that participation rate. So we had, for MTSS, we had 5 items on the strategic plan that we were working toward. One of them was to create an MTSS team across the school, across the grade level, across the content areas, across, social work and academics, and we were able to do that. Our team is very diverse and very, and full of people that are passionate about making the layers of support better for students. Number 2, the strategic plan called for us to conduct a needs assessment, so we did that at one of the very first staff meetings. We found out that teachers would like training, teachers need a solid definition of MTSS, they're not quite sure, RTI, MTSS, how it all fits together, so they needed a definition. They needed exit and entrance scores to know exactly who is going to be in the different tiers, and they wanted those tiers, those criteria to be consistent across the district. So we were able to do that. Number 3, we were to draft a YMS MTSS plan and manual. And right now, we have a solid draft. It's not quite finished yet, but it's a very solid draft that we're pretty proud of, and we're going to be working more on this over the summer on that, so that hopefully by fall it will be ready to be shared out. Number 4 is a big one. Establish the MTSS meeting protocols, entry and exit criteria, progress monitoring tools, and review and refine and implement Tier 2 and Tier 3 academic and behavioral goals. We were able to do a lot of that, not all of it this year, but we have plans to catch up with the ones that we weren't able to do this year. We were able to, maybe I'll give you a handout. This is what the staff saw last week at our staff meeting. Can you hand these? Take one and pass them down. Thank you. Those are the ABCs of MTSS at YMS, and that includes teaming. We're going to have a different teaming structure for MTSS to work. We're going to have PLCs that are going to be looking at data and then determining the Tier 2 implementations and interventions. We're going to have a service provider team, which we have this year, but it's going to, next year, include the behavioral support as well, which we don't have this year. So the service provider teams are the people that are doing the Tier 3 interventions. So the most needy students, we'll be talking about them and what they need and really honing in on the data to see what's most beneficial for them. And then we're going to need the universal problem-solving team, and that is a school-wide team, kind of like the committee that we had this year, because we're going to be looking at school-wide how do our scores look, if they're not where we want them to be, what can we do, what kind of professional development will teachers need to be able to put some more interventions into Tier 1, choose Tier 2 interventions a little bit more carefully, and same in Tier 3. So that's a big one. As you see on the handout, letter B is the process entrance and exit criteria for MTSS. So those are the things that the teachers said they needed at the beginning of the year. They wanted to know who is eligible for Tier 2, who is eligible for Tier 3. Everybody is eligible for Tier 1, so that's a given. And then once a child is in Tier 2 or Tier 3, how are we going to know that they're ready to move back into one of the other tiers or back into the classroom? So we had to look at the high school and CRES to see what they were doing for their criteria. And then number 5 we had to, the strategic plan asked us to provide MTSS professional learning for staff on behavior supports, data use, intervention processes. We were able to start some of the MTSS professional learning for staff. We have a lot more to do for that. We don't have any, we had a little bit of behavior support PD throughout the year, but our teachers are going to need more in how to analyze data, like Michael was talking about. Like, how do you look at data? How do you make sense of it? What do you do with that data once you do make sense of it? So we're going to need that kind of professional development as well as evidence-based intervention processes. So right now, the Tier 2 instruction is geared toward what the iReady and the NEWA says, the NWEA says that children need, but we want to get even more deep into exactly targeting exactly what they need, giving them that for the 4 to 6 weeks, and then making sure that they have met progress in that. And then C is phasing in the system. And Mr. Hislop talked about we need to have this go carefully and intentionally, and we're not just going to rush into that, because when schools do that, usually something doesn't go well. And we want this to be successful and effective for students and teachers. So we're going to intentionally build over time, starting with the changes that we've made this year. Our new schedule is going to have an impact on our MTSS, so we're going to have to wait a little bit to see how that rolls out. But next year, we're going for implementation, not perfection. And usually when schools put MTSS systems into place, it takes about 3 to 5 years for all of the systems to be working well together. So that's what our team has worked on. Do you have any questions?
That was going to be my question, like how this and the schedule. But I imagine cat time is like the most obvious place, and then you figure it out from there if it's pull out or.
Yep, we're going to have cat time to be able to, we thought we would use that time for Tier 2.
Yeah.
But then we were going to have 2 blocks of allied arts and I'm not sure what the other term is for the second block, but 2 blocks where we can pull students for Tier 3.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Our assistant principal, Tisha Gupta, is going to talk about our assessment strategic team.
Good evening. We have this spider that's dropped from the ceiling, and it was kind of interesting, Deb. As you were talking, he paused and looked like he was looking at you. He was very interested in what you had to say. Over this past school year, a group of YMS educators volunteered their time to take part in the assessment for learning teamwork. Teachers from each grade level, subject area, and department were represented on the committee. And this was so important to make sure our work was a reflection of the specific needs of teaching staff and learners in all aspects of the middle school experience. Our work was really hard. We had multiple day-long sessions focusing on something that is so incredibly important to teachers, their philosophies, past practices, and goals. Teaching is just a personal profession, so much of who we are is present in our passionate work with students. At one point during our work, we had to pause and recognize it's okay to have these tough conversations. It's where we had to start to make positive change, and our goal was to revamp, adjust, and create a cohesive grading system that unifies us as a school community, helps us better assess student needs, and prepare students for what comes next. This was not a simple task. We also needed to recognize that our learners at each grade level are very unique, and we are not a high school. We're in the middle, but we're working towards that. So we were trying to take that into consideration, but also recognize what we need at the middle school level. Again, it was a huge undertaking, but we're well on our way to accomplishing our goal. Tonight, I'm sharing with you the overview of what we created as a team and ended up sharing with staff. We did a lot of reviewing and looking at what we're currently doing, what's been done in the past, and what needs to change. Currently, we have summative assessments used as the only data used to calculate student grading at YMS. It limits the number of data points used to determine how students are accessing the curriculum. So what we're going to be changing is we're now also going to be including formative assessments in our trimester grading overview. This is going to allow teachers, families, students to obtain a better picture of whether or not a student is meeting standard and achieving learning goals in real time. Summatives still carry more weight because they're more involved, and they are the complete student learning summary that's connected to standards. Formatives carry less weight but are still impactful. Together, they help to enhance learning and emphasize the importance of what leads up to an assessment. The reporting piece, both formative and summative project activities, assessments, are going to be reported still through PowerSchool. Parents and students can access PowerSchool at any time during the trimester to review student achievement and see how the standards align with units of learning. At the end of the trimester, a report card will be sent to families like it currently is, but this time it's going to include overall summative and formative cumulative score, as well as a narrative that focuses on student habits of work and learning. The standards, the committee, this was really important to folks working on this. The committee felt like it was important to still maintain the good teaching practices that are connected to standards while transitioning to a refreshed grading system. One essential piece of good teaching is teaching with purpose and direction. The standards make that possible. Teachers will be entering assignments, projects, activities in PowerSchool while also selecting the standards that align with those assignments, projects, and activities. Parents and students can check a box in PowerSchool's Quick View to see the learning purpose of every activity that students participate in. YMS educators 6 through 8 are already using traditional letter grades to report out. We will now align that with a numeric 0 to 100 scale, 5 through 8. We'll continue to implement the 7-point range for A, B, C, D, and F. This is our way of making sure, the NHI is our way of making sure, not handed in, that we are monitoring student work and meet the standard learning goal. NHI notifies students and parents that an assignment wasn't completed, and until that work is completed, the grade is missing. Teams and educators will have specific criteria for completing missing work that will be shared with families. And for reassessment, all summative assignments are reassessable. Perimeters will be outlined to make sure reassessments don't replace preparing for an assessment the first time, and will also make sure a student doesn't attempt to retake an assessment months after it was administered. And then we have HOWLS, Habits of Work and Learning. That is going to be something reported out via the report card comments in narrative form, and we'll continue to utilize respect, responsibility, and perseverance as our YMS core value. In PowerSchool, parents and students will be able to see for each individual assignment, activity, project, test, icons representing whether or not work is late, missing, etc. We're excited to get this going, implementing this, and again, it was tough work. It's funny, somebody who's not in education might not understand that, like, well, it's just grading. Like, what can be a big deal about that? But oh my gosh, people care. They want to make sure that what they're reporting out to families is an accurate depiction of what students are learning. And we want students to be invested in their learning, to see how they're doing, to make improvements, and ultimately we want students to be able to meet the standards, see that success, and move forward and be successful later after middle school too. What questions do you have? It's a lot. It's a lot.
I fully recognize that it wasn't like the most fair way to hire both of you to say like change a lot of things at once, but I appreciate your team approach and the collaborative work. I understand there's a lot of opinion and a lot of feedback, and I appreciate you staying open to that and working through some of the significant challenges. And as a middle school parent myself, getting like what feels like an appropriate amount of information, and it was really exciting to be able to see less screen time and have this like unstructured time become very meaningful, and offer coursework that meets the goal of getting kids engaged and working as a community and getting excited about learning and being able to try new things, like theater and piano at the 5th grade level is amazing.
But it was neat to see too, the teachers, like, wait, I can teach this? Like, their passion and something that they've worked on in the past, they're trained in, and to explore that with students, I think that's gonna be really fun to see play out next year.
Well, I appreciate your perseverance. I know it was a heavy lift for their first year. Welcome to York, and excited to see.
All right.
I think the importance here, though, is fitting it together.
Yeah.
You know, I think this new schedule has applied more learning in the day, so the less screen time will naturally happen, because I think we had a lot of time for kids to do what they wanted, and what are they gonna do? They're gonna jump on there. When I look at Coastal Ridge and what the good work that's been done there, how does that come over to 5th grade?
Right.
You know, how do we get that to 5th and 6th grade and model it the same way and maybe work together as a team of teachers? Because Coastal Ridge does a really good job at teaming. When I look at that way, and when I look at the data that you presented, it's the data sets too, and where are the data points? We didn't see a lot about special ed, and we didn't see a lot about boys, girls. We didn't see a lot about, where are they? I mean, I think this is a great start, but I think we can expand it even more as we move along, because some of this is great tools and a lot of information that we're probably not using because we're getting used to it, but it's been great work. And building a new schedule is an undertaking, and how they involved a majority of the teachers was very important. And I think it will do a lot to lessen the screen time that schools are being hung up on right now, with kids just having nothing to do and being on computers. So 80-20 is the rule. 80-20 is the rule. 80% of the time you're teaching, live teaching, and 20% of the time could be technologies. You don't want to just reverse. That's when you get in trouble. So great stuff, Village, Coastal Ridge, and I know the high school's done some good work on the map. So just kind of tying that in, because that's important to have that overlap to 5th grade and 6th grade. So
Yeah, I think the transition points are places that we've been trying to work on over the years. And I also think, as we look at the data from the middle school, some of the changes that are put in place are, again, really purposeful to make sure that we are prioritizing instructional time, and that instructional time is teachers being trained, or we're using evidence-based best practices, or we have clear guidelines for what we're teaching if students need additional support.
So real quick, the 3-year assessment reading data, I'll give a quick highlight here for a shout out to the 7th grade reading scores. There are 86%. That's above our target of 80%, which should be celebrated. You can see the other 3 grade levels are approaching, with 6 and 8 very close, 77 and 78. The iReady data, it's not as pretty as Coastal Ridge and Village, but it is trending in the right direction. You see from fall to spring, there's less red, there's more green, so fewer students are at risk. But as Ellen was speaking to, this speaks to the need for some of these changes that we're putting in place: more instructional time, a strengthened MTSS model, a more cohesive and aligned assessment practices over time. This will certainly result in some changes here. With math, we're not meeting the target. You'll see with the iReady data, same thing, we're trending in the right direction with fewer students at risk, but definitely some need for improvement here. And the new schedule will provide more time for good teaching.
Do you want to talk about as well, during the budget process, we had also talked about shifting some positions. And so now, right now, the middle school only has 2 MTSS positions, one for math and one for literacy, which is Dr. Neri. Next year, we're also introducing the MTSS-B specialist, but then we're also going to be having some ed tech support at the middle school next year within the MTSS program, who will be able to support Andrea Gould, who's math, and Deb Neri in literacy, to be able to provide more cohesive, consistent services to a greater number of students.
And as I mentioned, again, this is heading in the right direction. Definitely some room for improvement.
On to the high school.
Are you guys good? You need a break? Wonderful. So I'm Amanda Setti. I am the principal at York High School. And this past year, you can switch to the next one. So this past year at the high school, our team continued to improve and prioritize improving literacy and math skills across all the grade levels to drive that targeted database support. And we wanted to do this effectively for our students requiring that intensive intervention and we utilized our certified English and math teachers to provide Tier 2 and Tier 3 support, and that was ensuring that our content experts were working directly with the students that needed the most. But I do want to emphasize that our data doesn't stop at the intervention level. For a majority of our students who do not require Tier 2 or Tier 3 support, their classroom teachers review this data and they know where students are academically. They use this insight to differentiate instruction and support students within the regular classroom setting. So the data is used to benefit every student at York High School, regardless where they fall. And looking at the next year, a major priority for us as high school aged people is to build a positive, transparent culture around data. We want to move away from data being something that just happens to students. We want them, as the people, to actively review their own scores, understand their growth areas, and become active partners in their own goal setting and academic story. And that's something that is a major push for next year, is really getting those students to engage in the actual data and that culture around data. And so moving into our state testing data, our 10th grade students took the Maine through-year assessment this spring, and I'm proud of the growth that this specific cohort has shown over time. So looking at math, 72% of our 10th graders performed at or above grade level. And to help contextualize this, when this exact same group took this in 8th grade, only 57% of them were proficient. And so it's a 15% jump in proficiency over 2 years, which shows that our high school math alignments and interventions are working. And I want to share specifically the story of how we achieved that 15% growth, because it highlights the direct impact of our strategic changes. So in previous years, our math support relied on a part-time tutor who helped students with general skills based on classroom reports. It was a good safety net, but it lacked that precise data. And so last year, we intentionally shifted that model. And we brought on a full-time math teacher. If you remember when Mike Bennett moved to Village, we brought in a full-time math teacher here at York High School and paired their expertise with the targeted data from iReady. And instead of guessing where the gaps were, we were able to use that with our interventionists and pinpoint those exact foundational skills that the student was missing and pull them for that immediate support. And that transition from the general tutoring to a data-driven full-time intervention model is why we're seeing these academic gains. So if you want to move to reading. So in reading, 79% of our 10th graders scored at or above grade level. So this cohort was at 81% in the 8th grade, but a 2% variance shows stable, sustained excellence in literacy. And really, to put those numbers into a broader perspective, across the state of Maine, the average math proficiency typically hovers around 50%. So with our kids at 72%, the state average typically is 50%, and literacy is around 60%. So York High School continues to outpace those state benchmarks, beating the state averages in both the categories for math and for literacy. And so, again, we've seen the pyramids for all 4 schools now, but in addition to the state testing, our 9th, 10th, and 11th grade students take the iReady diagnostic in both the fall and the spring. So as I previously mentioned, we elected to implement this diagnostic starting in the 24-25 school year, specifically so we could pinpoint the exact granular needs of our high school students. That was missing. We use a triangulation of data, so 3 parts, looking at iReady scores, their classroom grades, and the direct teacher recommendations. If a student is flagged across those 3 metrics, they're placed into targeted intervention. For students not in formal intervention, our teachers use this diagnostic data to differentiate support directly in their classrooms. So the primary objective with this data is to shrink our Tier 3 population, the students in red requiring intensive intervention, and grow the Tier 1 population, which represents those students working at or above grade level. As you can see, like our reading pyramid, we currently have 33% of our students sitting in that red Tier 3 category. So seeing red, that size, forces us to look closely and really own this challenge. And to understand this number, it helps to know how we overhauled our literacy support. So again, last year, our approach to reading intervention was essentially a Band-Aid. We had a part-time literacy interventionist and was only able to work with struggling students if they happened to have open time in their schedule, and those were days that she was working in the district. It was reactive rather than proactive. And so this year, we made a massive structural shift. We assigned a specific certified English teacher to work directly with those Tier 3 students, and it utilized that special literacy curriculum called Language Live, and it's tailored for high school students. And we also used our other certified English teachers to work directly with Tier 2 students to target their specific skill deficits. So math has had it a little bit longer here at the high school, but again, both now math and literacy have that strong intervention support for both Tier 2 and Tier 3. But it's important to remember that we moved from that catch them if they're free model and transitioned into this highly structured, expert-led intervention system. We are still working hard on building our positive data culture and helping our staff and students fully leverage the diagnostic, but this major shift in our strategy has reduced our top 3 population, or that Tier 3 population, by about 3%, and it does drop from 36% to 33% in expanding our Tier 1 group. And looking at math data, it shows the greater momentum. We achieved a 7% increase in Tier 1 placement, and it moved a group of students into on-grade level mastery, climbing from 36% to 43%. And again, we successfully dropped our Tier 3, that intensive risk category, by 6%. And it confirms that when we target specific standards with our certified content experts, our high schoolers can make academic gains. I do want to provide context as being the 4th school to go and having my pyramids looking different. In educational research, growth data looks different in high school. Looks way different than it does in an elementary school. So in early grades, you see massive vertical leaps because students are learning foundational skills, like how to decode words, how to multiply, and that's for the very first time. And so by the time kids reach 9th, 10th, 11th grade, not only do they have formed opinions regarding things that they don't get grades on, academic growth becomes horizontal. It is no longer about learning a brand new skill. It's about deepening complex analytical thinking, reading stamina, and multi-step problem solving. So we're shifting the high schooler's trajectory. It requires kind of untangling years of some of that accumulated academic gaps, and rather than just teaching a single new lesson. So because of this, a 3% or 7% positive shift in high school is actually systemic movement in student mastery. So I know that our triangles are going to continue to improve, and as we've seen with the lower grades, that is going to continue, and we are going to continue to catch these students that are in Tier 3 and offer them as much intervention support as we can in high school. But again, just kind of knowing that seeing that drastic shift is not going to be as prominent at the high school level. But we're not shying away from it. We're not waiting until the 3rd graders come up to the high school to have those students that had the literacy program ready to go once they were in K. So we are still owning those numbers, and we have that framework that we need to shrink the red. And again, getting students involved, getting parents involved, it's really important, and I look forward to seeing where their data takes our students next year. Questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I know I appreciate it's hard to put the red, it's hard to put the big red up there.
It
I
is.
understand that, but I also appreciate the conversation around doing it differently than it's been done a long time, and I think that is a conversation that we have all the time in York of I think when we first brought Superintendent Doak in, he asked, it's one thing to say that you're excellent, but how do you know that you're excellent? And so we've really been working through that the last few years to see, to celebrate where we are doing an excellent job, and also just being just as honest about the spaces where we need improvement. And it does come down to these really, it feels, like I said before, like it feels in the budgetary process like we're just talking about like a position, but then when we understand how deeply it affects children through their entire academic careers and, you know, the trajectory of their lives, it just becomes more important, yeah. So I appreciate you doing the hard work and the less exciting pyramids, but they are exciting pyramids because it is to me, it shows the trajectory, like you're suggesting, in the right direction, and that's what we want to see.
Yep, exactly. Thank you.
And I want to say thank you again to all 4 of our principals for the work that you've done, for your strategic goals this year, for challenging your staff to do things differently, and to head on in a great direction as we start the next academic year. So thank you all.
Thank you.
We have presentations of the grading system updates, but that was contained within, right? Okay, yeah, that was.
We just embedded the middle school right now.
All right. I know. Hi. I saw Robert sneak in. You're good. Welcome. All right. On to, you good or do you want to come up? Okay, current openings.
Good?
I
Yeah,
think so.
okay. So a lot of these we can take off the list, the principal, the athletic director, the pre-K teacher, second grade teacher. We still have those TSSB ed techs in the middle school that we'll be hiring soon. Transportation coordinator, we still only have a very small pool of applicants. Hopefully, I will track more. Kitchen manager was just posted. Ed techs are always open. And of course, auditorium manager who resigned recently, we have to fill that position. So we'll work through those.
I wasn't sure if you were going to come up, so I kind of skipped over you, but welcome. We put your nameplate down because you weren't here, but you can put it right back. Welcome, Roberts. Do you have a report, or are you just happy to?
I do have a report.
Thank you. You can turn your mic on there too, if you don't mind.
All right. So I was just talking to Mr. Delahanty, and he said there's been a lot of celebrations for like the end of the year, and including field day up at the high school turf. I actually was able to witness it. I was going to play soccer, and then a bunch of kids running around the track. Yeah, it looked like a lot of fun. And then for Coastal Ridge, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade celebrated the end of the school year with their annual trip to York Beach. 2nd and 3rd grade held their field day with PE teacher Mr. Johnston. 4th grade participated in Olympic Day, which is exciting. Students worked hard on research projects and exhibited them during the Horizons Fair last week. And the annual 4th grade celebration will be taking place to commemorate their final year at Coastal Ridge. So that's also really exciting. And I know that I think it was Monday night, there was the middle school, or the 8th grade graduation, which they got to do that in the auditorium, which is exciting. So yeah, a lot going on. And today was actually my last day as well.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Very good. I appreciate you. Congratulations.
Oh yeah, we have a state championship for lacrosse. Yeah. I
Coming
guess.
up or happened?
On Friday.
On Friday?
Yeah,
Is
it's
that
gonna
what
be
the
good.
blonde is?
It is, yeah.
Oh.
Playoff
And you're
cut.
playing who?
Marshwood.
Marshwood, yeah.
7:30 at Deering, I think.
Deering, yeah.
Late game. It's exciting. Thank you.
Turf field also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for sneaking in. All right, on to public comment. Thank you. So before each public comment, I'll just read this statement. The York School Committee values public input and encourages community members to share their thoughts. To allow for a diverse range of perspectives and maintain a timely meeting, we ask that each public comment be limited to 3 minutes. The York School Committee recognizes the value of public comment and participation in school and educational matters. The York School Department's policy BEDH, public participation at York School Committee meetings, is attached to the agenda there and is also available on our school district website. All right, first we have Devin Weber.
Hi there, my name is Devin Weber. I am a middle school parent. I am also a resident of York, and I'm here on this last meeting of Dr. K to say thank you so much.
Thank you.
So
Thank you very much.
you are so welcome. So our boys grew up together. They're the same age. And she was actually the one that inspired me to reach out to the York principals to train their teachers in math intervention. And I had one of my math mentors once upon a time say, show me your data, because if you don't show me your data, your chatta don't matter. And you guys have amazing data, and the principals have already left, but oh my gosh, loved it, loved all of it. And I love you, and thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Next, Mika Bradburn, policies and enforcement. I think, I can't read the last bit, I'm sorry. Welcome, thank you.
Hello, how are you? My name is Mirka Bradburn, and I'm a parent of middle schoolers and elementary school students. It's been quite a few years since I've been to one of these meetings. As the school year ended, it was nice to listening to the teachers, how they're working on improving the education, because that is very important and matters. Another issue, I wish we were focusing also on the issues in terms of bullying and racism, especially in middle school level, that I've had experience from my kids. I listened to the other parents. There's a lot of talks, I don't think a lot of parents come forward to these meetings. They, talk in between each other. They post on social media. I have a lot of mom parents that, share their experience. I wish they come up and talk, because I feel like it's just not being dealt with and properly. Like using N-word nowadays, I feel like that's a big offense, but it's happening and it's a lot. I hear it from my kids, other parents' kids. There were instances that had happened, bullying, racism. And from what I've heard and had experience for my kids that had incident at school, I feel like it's not being handled. When I read the student handbook, you read about the minor and major infractions. So I think some of these things are major things, and there need to be consequences. Words matter. So if something like that happens, that should be handled with, and the kids should be held accountable for. And if they're not being held accountable for, then the administration needs to be held accountable for if they're not following with this. And I just feel that's being lacked, because in general right now, middle schools, it's a mess. That's what I'm hearing, because of all this stuff that is happening, that I hear, that I witness from my kids. It's just, I feel like we should focus on this, because if something like this happens, it's not like simple talk. If somebody uses an N-word or calls teacher N-word, my kid, or other profanities, something serious needs to happen, not just a little talk. The kid shouldn't be next day at school. It's just a lot of stuff like that been happening, and I feel like it's just, we're not being strict with that. So if the kids are not being held accountable for, then the administration should be held accountable for not enforcing those policies, because some of the things are just zero tolerance, and it should be hard now. And we should make an example. So, because when you're they grow up, they go in their work, and you have policies. If you do something that you're held accountable for. So we should, raise the kids to have ethics and values. And some things are not okay. I know about kids who've been bullying kids since elementary school, and those are the same kids that are in middle school, but it's not being addressed because they just keep continuing. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. That's my pen. You're welcome to use it if you'd like. Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Cheryl Nyworth with data.
I'm sorry?
It says data, I believe.
Yeah, I was just, it's too bad that everyone left because there's an opportunity for feedback. As someone who deals with data for my job, as someone who has seen the data and talked to administration about the iReady data that was gathered in 2024, I found it interesting that the high school data that was presented only showed the main through year. I had requested the data similar to the data that was presented in 2024, that less than 1/3 of the entire student body, 9 through 12, was on grade level. In fact, the majority were 2 or more grade levels below. We can say what we want. We can say it as loud and as strong as we want, that the pyramid shows growth and progress. What I saw on that pyramid is that 1/3 of our high school students are at risk, the red. What data showed from the other schools was what percentage of students were on grade level or meeting national average in reading and math. We left that out for some reason in the high school. I would take a guess that the 1/3 who are not at grade level remains the same. It would be great if we could actually have the numbers and not profess causation for things that may or may not be related. I heard some of that happening tonight. And I don't know if it was Mr. Harris or Mr. Delahunty who presented the slide that showed that 57% of our students in either the middle school or at Cress, or Vassar Cress, no, it was Cress or middle school, were at the national level, and that national level was 25th percentile. So I love Devin, and I love Mr. Weber. I disagree that the data is awesome. I think that we cherry-picked the data tonight. I think we are still very much in a crisis. Maine is 46th in the country, and your data tonight did not alleviate my anxiety as a parent that the teaching isn't here. We started in 2022 discussing the fact that our reading and math needed some type of intervention. And I'm hearing pilot programs just starting last year. It's like we left the high school students out, and we don't care because they're high school and it's too late. And we have done an extreme disservice to those children. And the middle school data, if it started in 2023, these interventions, that data is not good.
That's 3 minutes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Janelle Estes for chronic absenteeism. Welcome, thank you.
Hi, I'm Janelle, I'm back again. I wanted to talk about chronic absenteeism. And I also agree with Cheryl's comment, like it would have been great for your leaders to stick around and engage or even just be willing to hear. I'm happy you're here, Amanda, thank you. So I'm a parent of kids in the district, as you know. I was here a couple of weeks ago. I'm also a York High graduate. I deeply value education. In fact, in my day job, I oversee and teach in a master's degree program at Bentley University called Human Factors in Information Design. At the core of that degree is this idea that you must deeply understand and build for the humans that you are creating for. In this context, we might call it student-centered design, human-centered design. After all, we're responsible for educating our students. So when people hear that a student is chronically absent, we jump to this idea that the student doesn't want to come to school, that the parents aren't pushing hard enough, or that anxiety is the sole explanation. You know, they just have to push through it and we can do hard things. The reality is that it's often a lot more complicated. Students don't wake up one day and decide just to become chronically absent. It's often a visible symptom of something much deeper: unmet disability-related needs, bullying or getting the feeling as if they don't belong or aren't on par with their peers, academic struggles, sensory overwhelm, executive functioning difficulties, the list goes on and on. Put simply, chronic absenteeism often occurs because there's a mismatch between what a student needs and what the school's providing. And if we want to address chronic absenteeism in this district, we have to be willing to ask harder questions than how do we just get this kid back in the seat? Because what happens when that kid gets back in the seat and that child shuts down because of overwhelm and they're not accessing their education at all? Is that a win? Did our red marks go down on our charts? At what cost to that child? At what cost to the family? I hope we all share the same goal here tonight, which is about, creating schools where children feel safe, where they feel like they belong, where they feel like they can access their education, and where they feel like they can succeed. Because right now I don't have that feeling, at least from my personal and family experience. But if we do create these environments, your attendance data is going to go up. But these kids are more than just attendance data. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment before we close it? Okay, thank you. On to new business. We'll first consider and approve the superintendent of schools' authority to hire during the summer months. Yes, do you want us to vote on that?
Huh? You just need to vote.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll take a motion.
I move to consider and approve the superintendent of schools' authority to hire during the summer months.
Marie, would you like? Second. Okay. Any more discussion before we vote on that?
Just so you know, we're hiring quite a bit of people here right now, so I don't know how many more opens we'll have. And if we meet in July, I'll try to make sure it's around that. But sometimes it gets competitive and schools are out doing the same thing, letting their superintendents hire. So just to keep it there. But I'll always make sure you know, and I'll always make sure, we bring it to the next board meeting too. But
Yeah,
just
you
to
always
kind
do a great job of keeping us informed. And
Yeah, thank you.
instead of waiting for 4 weeks for the
Yeah,
next
no,
meeting,
it's, yeah.
losing a candidate.
Right, I know, we
Okay,
discussed
thank
that
you.
each year. Yes, thank
Yeah.
you. All right, we'll take a vote. Rick?
Yes.
Marie?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 4-0 to approve the superintendent of schools' authority to hire during the summer months. 8.2, consideration and approval of the nomination of the new YMS special education teacher and case manager, Lindsay Augustine.
Met with Lindsay, met with most of these people over the week, and a lot of them come with background. They've worked in other schools. Some have worked right here in York and took a break and came back, and some are York grads, which is kind of neat. So Lindsay would be filling in one of our special ed openings.
Okay. Do you have a motion?
I move to, do I need to consider or just approve?
Just move to
Approve.
Move to approve the nomination of the new YMS special ed teacher, case manager, Lindsay Augustine.
I second.
Okay, any discussion before we vote on Lindsay Augustine's nomination? Okay, Rick?
Yes.
Marie?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 4-0 to approve Lindsay Augustine for the nomination of the YMS special education teacher and case manager. On to consideration and approval for the nomination of the new YMS special education teacher and case manager, Lori Ford.
Lori Ford, a resident of York, currently works in Marblehead, Massachusetts, in a private school in the same capacity. Comes with a strong background in school psychology, with a background in special ed. It was a really great meeting, a lot of great ideas, and hopefully will help our middle school special ed population.
Great, thank you.
I move to approve the nomination of the new YMS special ed teacher, case manager, Lori Ford.
I second.
Any discussion before we vote on the nomination of Lori Ford? Okay. Rick?
Yes.
Marie?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 4-0 to approve Lori Ford as the new YMS special education teacher and case manager. Next, we have consideration for the approval of the nomination of the new second grade teacher at Coastal Ridge, Caitlin Foster.
Caitlin Foster once worked at Coastal Ridge for a number of years, took a break when she had a fourth child, I believe, went into a private business and now coming back into education. Very excited to get back to Coastal Ridge, where she'll be grade 2.
Wonderful.
I move to approve the nomination of Caitlin Foster as a new second grade teacher at Cress.
I second.
All right, any more discussion before we vote?
No.
Rick?
Yes.
Marie?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 4-0 to approve Caitlin Foster as a new second grade teacher at Coastal Ridge. 8.5, consideration and approval for the nomination of the new pre-K teacher at Village Elementary, Jordan McKee.
Jordan McKee is a York grad, attended undergraduate school, got a degree in pre-K, early childhood. She'd done some subbing both in Village and Coastal Ridge, and at the full-time job of pre-K, she is our nominee.
I move to approve the nomination of Jordan McKee as the new pre-K teacher at Village Elementary School.
I second.
Okay, any more discussion before we vote on Jordan McKee? All right, Rick?
Yes.
Marie?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 4-0 to approve Jordan McKee as the new pre-K teacher at Village Elementary. Next, we have consideration for the approval of the nomination of the one-year second grade teacher at Coastal Ridge, Nicole Harvey. It's for a one-year position.
Nicole Harvey currently teaches the Elliott School in the Marshwood School District. She has now come into applied for and received the one-year position at the second grade level at Coastal Ridge.
All right.
I move to approve the nomination of Nicole Harvey as a second grade teacher in a one-year position at Coastal Ridge Elementary School.
I second.
Any more discussion before we vote on Nicole Harvey, second grade teacher for 1 year? No? Rick?
Yes.
Marie?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 4-0 to approve Nicole Harvey, a one-year position at Coastal Ridge for second grade. Next, consideration for the approval of the nomination of interim principal at York High School, Kyle Hudson, who is currently the OHS assistant principal.
Currently assistant principal, we were looking to move him into the interim position. We had 8 applicants for a high school position, which is very low. A neighboring community similar to York, Yarmouth, had a similar opening in high school principal. They only received 9 applicants. It's troubling. I'm concerned. I've been concerned for a number of years now with people not going into school administration, and I think you see 2 schools are similar academically and all around, very low pools of school administration at the top level of high schools. So hopefully the interim will work out well. It gives us an idea to kind of work through the year. If it goes well, great. But it also gives us a chance if we want to re-advertise at a time when maybe it's better. But when I looked at the other schools and they didn't have a lot of applicants either, it's alarming. And I come that way because this is my profession, and I'm really nervous of what's going to be happening in people not being interested in being in school administration. Unfortunately, they don't come through the ranks anymore either. Most people were teachers moving through the ranks, but we're not seeing that anymore either. So I'm a little nervous, but I think we're get ourselves in a good position going forward next year, and we will advertise if the need happens.
Is there anything that can be done as like a motivation to get them to take that leap or that push? Like I've heard a few stories from current administrators who said they didn't want to go into administration, but then they were told, you should really try this out. And
yeah, I think a couple things. I think there's a lot of people have been tapped on the shoulder. Hey, I think you make a great administrator. You should do this. Others have just said, since they started the education, I think that's what my goal is, and I want to be. But I also think the other piece is schools often don't work from within and train people while you have them. And then what happens is nobody really wants the job after they see what happens in school administration on a daily basis. So, nurturing that leader that you have in your building and recognizing who they are. Even when we did some shifting in this district, teachers just couldn't believe it because they said it's never been a habit of York to do this. And I think they were pretty impressed. Said, wow, if that's the future. And I think this board has talked about that, along with many other boards and schools that I've talked to. So there's various ways why people go into administration, but there's less and less and less today that do it. And they don't come through the ranks, and maybe we don't do a good enough job and wrecking future leadership and saying, hey, maybe it's time to tap you on the shoulder and say, I think you do good at this. And, you need to give them small responsibilities as the teachers or as lower administrators to see how good they do at small things, because if you do the small things well, chances are you'll do the big things well. So I think we need to do better at that in Maine schools. I did receive a call yesterday from the MEA in Augusta. It was about an hour conversation on what may be happening here in November and what Maine schools need to do differently. So it was an interesting phone call, and I think quality leadership has to be number one, and we have to be able to look at what's inside. When you've got two very high-performing, all-around high schools between Yarmouth and York and only receiving that many applicants, it really does say something. So I think it's something I think Maine needs to take a serious look at. So, but exercising that leaders in your own district and nurturing that is number one. I think they notice it, they appreciate it, and it might inspire more to do more.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I ask when we would repost the position?
Yep, that's a great question. I would say most of the time you want to repost a position after the holidays, so come middle of January, you should start to have something out, no later than February 1st. Not the best time to advertise in April and May, but, I think Yarmouth ran the ad quite a while. And I believe the principal is from overseas that once lived in New England. So no Maine connection. There was no people from. So, but it's something that I think Maine School Management and the Maine Principal Association need to take a serious look at. So.
Sounds like it. All right, thank you.
Yep. So,
I move to approve the nomination of Kyle Hodgson as the interim principal at York High School.
A second.
All right, any more discussion before we vote on Kyle Hodgson, assistant principal, to interim principal? All right, Rick?
Yes.
Marie?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 4-0 to accept the nomination of interim principal at York High School for Kyle Hodgson. Next, consideration and approval for the nomination of the interim assistant principal at York High School, Corinne Monaco, who is currently a teacher in the Pathways program.
Teachers in the Pathway program working on her administrative certificate. She should have that by early next month to be fully certified, which is great. Shows a great example of a leader in our building and someone who wants to be a leader. I think it's a great opportunity to give a supportive opportunity to do this. It's someone within our own ranks, knows our schools, knows the staff. The staff was very comfortable. I really commend the high school staff of getting involved in this, looking over what we could do, working with Amanda and I in their own leadership that they have. But both Kyle and Corinne were successful in the staff saying, yeah, this is going to be good. So we have a few others that have their administrative degrees, but didn't show any interest in it, but Corinne will be finishing up in July, so she's going to be good.
Perfect, thank you.
Is she prepared to take on the assistant principal role of, authoritarian and after going from Pathways to, I know that's probably an old way of thinking on that one, but.
No, it's a great question. I think many of us that were once teachers and were successful and moved into the assistant principal role, we're like, what's going to happen? Is my car going to get spray painted or something like that? But it doesn't happen. I think that all comes down to relationships. You build relationships with kids, and you need to be where they are. And when time comes for discipline, I think they respect you as an individual who cares about them. I find that's always helped in my career. So at those levels, and I think just knowing that there are a set of school rules and policies that the board makes, but being there, being able to be around where they are, talking, interacting, and getting to know them on that level is so important. And I think that's where the success comes. You can't be sitting in your office and letting problems come to you. You got to get out in the schools and walk around and be in the CAFs and let them know that you saw them in past events, and it makes a big difference in that position. It's not fun being assistant principal. You kind of take the brunt of all that piece, but it doesn't have to be that way. I think the key with Corinne is she's got a great background in curriculum instruction. I think that's a different role. I was fortunate to play that role a little bit as assistant principal, makes you a better principal also. But I just think it's, you know, nurturing those leaders from within is important for the future, so.
I move to approve the nomination of Corinne Monaco as an interim assistant principal at York High School.
A second.
Okay, any more discussion before we vote on Corinne Monaco?
No.
All right, Rick,
Yes.
Marie,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
chair votes yes, 4-0 to approve Corinne Monaco's nomination for the interim assistant principal at York High School. Next, we have consideration and approval for the nomination of the new athletic director candidate, David McGuckin.
David McGuckin came to us, one of our finalists. We had a poll of 26 applicants for our AD position, which was phenomenal. We did interview 6 finalists were interviewed. Dave was one of those finalists that were interviewed. He's had a strong background in athletics in school for a number of years. Took a break from that and got involved in drug enforcement and law enforcement. We'll be getting done from that in July 1 of this year. Has some great ideas. It's not only is he a great AD, but I think he's going to be able to help us administrative-wise in the building, safety protocols, you know, our own issues with drug and alcohol issues that we may have. He's got a strong background in that and knowledge about school safety. So we're kind of excited to go to that route. Also, we'll be moving that AD's office into the sunroom that's out next to the second lobby that we have in our high school by the gym and performing arts. We also want this individual not stuck in the office. We want someone out in the school during lunch, walking around gym, getting the fields ready for games, talking to kids, having athletes and kids be able to stop in his office. He'll be right up there where they all are, making those relationships, hopefully we'll get kids to feel like they're important. I never liked having that office down in the office, kind of behind locked doors. That doesn't really work well. It's relationship building that make kids and parents feel well. And we need to market what we're doing in a good way. I think it's enough that we hear the bad stuff all the time, and we're getting flooded with that, all kinds of emails and whatnot. But I think having that show that what's happening in our schools, and the extracurricular level and the music level, the sports level, the club level. So that office will be moved up into that area, and we've already started talking about plans moving forward with Dave. So I'm really excited. He's got some background in two different arenas, so I think it's going to be positive for the school.
Thank you.
I move to approve the nomination of Dave McGuckin as the new athletic director.
A second.
Okay, any more discussion before we vote? Rick?
No.
Rick?
Yes.
Marie?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 4-0 to approve the nomination of the new athletic director candidate, Dave McGuckin. Next, we have a reduction of 1 special education teacher at the York Middle School.
So we had Chris Barabo supply some points behind that. You're taking 2 programs and the smaller number of kids and merge them into 1. So that's kind of why we were able to reduce there. Although we did hire the other special ed teachers, this is the more of a high needs students. So the numbers were a little bit lower, so we combined them into 1 program. So he took that lead on that. So that's what we're doing.
Okay.
So is that a motion? Okay. I moved, how would I phrase that?
I think you moved to
reduce-
approve, to reduce.
Move to approve the reduction of 1 special education teacher at York Middle School.
A second.
All right, any more discussion before we vote on this? Rick?
Yes.
Marie?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 4-0 to approve the reduction of 1 special education teacher at York Middle School. And we also have 8.11 reduction of 1 science teacher at York High School.
Yeah, we had a resignation of a science teacher when we did our scheduling for the courses for next year. We were able to move some of those courses around with a slight change in reduction of enrollment. We were able to reduce one of those teachers. So
All right.
I move to reduce 1 science teacher at York High School.
A second.
Any discussion before we vote on this reduction? All right, Rick?
Yes.
Marie?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 4-0 to reduce 1 science teacher position at York High School. All right. On to unfinished business. We have 9.1, consideration and action on the second read policies. Thank you. Good night. Rick, do you want to lead this?
Yeah.
First, we have drafted AD, educational philosophy and mission.
Yep, there hasn't been any changes. It was
Have a good
just
Good luck.
more just formatting, the same formatting issues. And then, so there's been no changes since the first read.
Okay, so we can move to adopt.
Yep. You want to do them all as?
Oh,
one?
is it? It looked like all of these were unchanged since we.
Yeah, they're all second
So
reads.
do you want to move them as a slate?
Sure.
Okay, is everyone comfortable with that? There's no, yep, okay. All right, so that will be policy AD, educational philosophy and mission. I just covered myself up here.
Do you want me to read them off? or-
Sure, oh, I just couldn't get that out of the way for a second. And then ADA, school department goals and objectives, ADAA, school system commitment to standards for ethical and responsible behavior, ADF, school department commitment to learning results, and AEC, accountability reporting to the public.
I move to adopt second read policies AD, ADA, ADAA, ADF, and AEC.
A second.
Okay, any more discussion before we vote? Okay, thank you, Rick. Rick?
Yes.
Marie?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 4-0 to adopt policies AD, ADA, ADAA, ADF, and AEC. All right, I don't see any other matters. That brings-
Just
Oh, sorry.
one other matter, maybe two.
Yes.
No, one for sure. York Kittery School District and the MSCD 35 will be meeting on July 2nd to expand further in discussion on sharing adult education services.
Okay.
They would use our director to oversee the programs. That would be for a contracted service. The other issue I would need us to think about is I am thinking about hiring or getting some help when we have requests for information. I think it's information that some of us we have at our fingertips, other times we don't. When it deals with emails, because of the large capacity that a name can fall under, there's a lot of didacting and going over, and sometimes you're going over like 85,000, 90,000 emails. So I did reach out to other schools that are getting bogged down also, and because it's a practice that seems to be happening. They are hiring someone too. It's just a capacity in the office with our regular workload. And we did take this up with the Budget Liaison Committee. Just let them know that we're kind of thinking about this. So just wanted to make sure the board knew about the two things, sharing the adult data and then maybe having someone we have to hire to come in and work with some of those information requests, because it's just a lot of information. I mean, some of it we have at our fingertips and we definitely want to provide that, but where it's hard for us is when it's overwhelming numbers of emails. It's just a lot to go through.
And you can't just pull a staff member off their other duties to do that.
That's where the cost comes in. You'll have to assess the financial cost and if the person's willing to do it. But sometimes with FOA, that's what happens. But with FERPA, there is none, and we have an obligation of 45 days. I've known schools have gone past it, and we may have to go past it because of capacity, going through all the emails. I mean, when you look at files and ACUM records, those are easy to get for parents. But it's when those email direct or indirect come in, it's just overwhelming, like most schools have said. The last school I talked to was like 15,000 pages of stuff they had to go through, and they said, we don't have the time either. So just, we're not pulling alarms. I just need to get our heads around this because we are busy with what we normally do, and then if we have to pull staff away, it's just things are gonna get bogged down. So I just think the taxpayer must realize that we may need to hire someone to help with that.
Would that be a position that we could hire like as needed, or?
No, I think you could do it on an hourly basis maybe and have them come in, and we just need to do our due diligence, and I know that there could be frustration levels that, I've requested this and nothing's being done. We are working on it. It's a lot of information. You can't, you have to deduct some of that as confidential, student names. Adult names stay in, but there are things you have to look at. So it's kind of, with all the schools that have gone through this, they all are saying the same thing. It's just gotten to a point that we,
It's a lot of information.
it's a lot of information, especially with emails, so.
Oh, Marie, sorry.
I would just ask to consider if we are going to be alerting the public that we are going to take on the additional budget requirement to hire somebody to do this work, that we revert back to a previous behavior where we shared the FOIA requests with the public as well. So that they can understand the full scope of the situations at hand and why this position would be necessary, because I think we've done so much work to try and maintain a tight budget and have to justify all of our positions. And when I look at needing to decide between an MTSS specialist or putting money towards this from a budgetary perspective, I think is just ensuring that the taxpayers know the full understanding of what can sometimes be more nuanced and behind the scenes conversations.
Yeah, I think for me, it's important to make sure that the information gets to the people who are requesting it. And that's
Exactly.
been, yeah.
You know, it's not that we're skirting around this. We don't want to do that. They deserve that information. It's just the time it takes when we don't have that extra help. I think accumulating records, like I said, it does not take long.
Can I ask him a question, or?
Yeah, you can
I
listen.
need a clarification
Yeah.
on what is being requested and what we're trying to provide.
Yeah, that would take us most of the night. We won't have a lot of time. You could call my office and I'll work you through that. Some of it is just information on testing. Some of it is student-related. And they deserve that, but it's just, the bogging down gets in the emails. When you have to go through 85,000 emails.
Well,
That's what.
Is there any option of using artificial intelligence?
No, it's all, a lot of this is, we can talk. I think we should cover this as part of the, orientation piece, but, no, everything that would be requested then goes through page by a person to redact student information.
You have to redact some of that information.
Yeah, we have to redact the protected information, All right, well, thanks for the heads up on that.
No, it's, we're going to do our due diligence and
Yeah.
when we receive it, but we had an issue last week where I think there was a middle school issue, and then all of a sudden, Friday night at 5 o'clock, we got a huge request. It's like, whoa,
Yeah.
and almost, I think the comment was about making kids held accountable, and I think absolutely right. And this was the case, and then Friday at 5 o'clock, we got this massive FOA and FERPA request that just, almost like it was like, they weren't happy with what we held them accountable for, and this is what we got in front of us, so.
Yeah.
It just, we're gonna do our due diligence, and that's what we have to do, and it's only the right thing, and parents do get this information, but it's the emails that we have to go through, it's a lot. So, but we're gonna work through it, but it takes time, and I don't like, I think people think that we're doing nothing when we're trying to do what we can, so, yeah. And the adult ed, I think it's an opportunity. I think the other superintendents are really excited to work with York. We had a really good collaborative this year with our administrators and our superintendents. We weren't doing a lot of meeting in the county, but I said, let's get together and help each other, and I think it's gonna be a model that maybe will help either bring in some funding or reduce some funding, so it's gonna, sharing services is the future anyway, so. Okay, that's it.
All right, anything else? All right, then we're ready for an adjournment at 8:20.
I move to adjourn at 8:20.
I second.
All right, any more discussion before we vote to adjourn? Rick?
Yes.
Marie?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 4-0 to adjourn. Actually, it's 8:21 now. Thank you. Thanks, Marie. See you soon.
Thank you.
Good night.